చాలా కనపడుతుంది షేర్ చేసినప్పుడు. ఏం చేయగలండి? రికార్డ్ చేసినవా? Good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss regarding the topic is exception handling fundamentals. What is exception? So how to handle the exception in Java? We'll see all these topics today. And once again, very good morning to all. So what is an exception? We know that. So what is exception? If we have exception, what will be there? We'll see these two things. So in Java, so exception is nothing but an event. If exception is there, what will happen? That will disturb the normal flow of the program. So once again, nothing but, so if there is exception, the program cannot be executed in the proper way. So here sometimes, and when an exception occurs, the program execution get terminated. This is a problem will be there. And here, these exceptions are generated by whom? Exceptions are generated by Java runtime system, and they can be manually or they can be manually generated by your code. So that's what this one. So this exceptions of what type? It is a runtime exception. It is a runtime exception. Okay. So when come to exception, if there is exception that will disturb the normal flow of the program, and this exception is an event. Okay, and it is an runtime. It is a runtime. Which one? It is a runtime exception. And if there is exception, the program can be terminated automatically. And if there is exception, so even the program is executed, we are going to get the wrong results. These are the problem with what your exceptions. What are the reasons of occurring exception? There are several reasons, and that I am discussing only few things. If you are trying to open a file which is not existing, sometimes it may be having the network connection problem, and sometimes it may be the given input by you is wrong. These are the various reasons of occurring an exception. So here, to overcome all these things, we have this one of the future in Java is what? Exception handling in Java. So it is one of the powerful mechanism to handle the runtime errors or runtime exception. If we handle those runtime exception or runtime errors, then the flow of application can be maintained in normal way. So here it is very good thing about exception is that they can be handled in Java. Okay. So exception handling is managed by using what in Java, by using how many keywords? 5 keywords. What are the 5 keywords we are having? Try block, catch block, throw, throws, and finally try, catch, throw, throws, and what you are finally. So these are the 5 keywords which we are going to use. Here we are having this. This is the exception type. Nothing but this indicates the exception hierarchy. So which is the superclass for all this runtime exception? So there is a throwable class. Throwable is a superclass. Under that we have 2 subclasses. One is errors and is what? Exception. Here in this exception, we are having what runtime exception. We also having other exceptions also there. And for throwable, so this is the for this throwable, it is a superclass. Object is a superclass, and where it is available, it is available in Java.lang package. In the Java.lang package, these are available. Okay, that's what regarding this is the same slide. So all exception types are subclass of built-in class throwable. Throwable is a superclass. It has two subclasses: error and what exception. Under exception, we have what runtime exception, right? So here, the types of exception in what are the types of exception in Java? There are two types of exception in Java. One is checked exception, and is what unchecked exception. So all exceptions other than runtime exception are known as checked exceptions, because here, as the compiler checks them during the compilation to see whether the program has handled them or not. If these exceptions are not handled or declared in the program, you will get an compilation error. The simple say that other than runtime exception or called as what? Checked exception. These exceptions are checked by the compiler during the compilation, whether the programmer has handled them or not. If the program is not handled them properly, then we are going to get what? Compilation error. That's what you are checked exception. What are the examples we are having? Some of them are SQL exception, IO exception, nothing but input and output exception, class not found exception, etc. These are this exception we are having. So we're having what next? Unchecked exception. So runtime exceptions are known as unchecked exceptions. These exceptions are not checked by the compiler at compile time, and the compiler also does not check whether the program handled them or not. It is the responsibility of the programmer to handle this exception and provide the safe program execution. Okay, so runtime exceptions are also known as what? Unchecked exception. These exceptions are not checked by the compiler. And who is responsible for this one? The programmer is responsible to handle this exception and make the program to be executed in proper way. That's what your unchecked exception. So which are unchecked exception? Arithmetic exception, null count exception, other index out of bound exception. So we have various exceptions are there. I'll show you at the end of this one what are the built-in exceptions we are having. There you come to know this, which are checked and which are unchecked exception, and differentiate those things there. Let's hang what? Uncaught exception. Here, when come to nothing but I have a small program. In this program, here I'm not going to handle any of the exception. So here, then who will detect here? Java runtime detects the Java runtime system will detect that it is divided by 0. So here, this GRS will construct the new object, new exception object, and then throw the exception. And it may be caught by your Java runtime system. Okay. So I'll execute this code, then I'll go to make understand this one. Class is what? XO. Okay. Then I'm going to say this one. Here I have the code not having handle exception clearly. So I'll open the notepad here. I'll open notepad here. I'll give this example is what some name EX public static void main. Instead the value is what is equal to 0. And then I declared what a variable A, where I'm going to divide this value of A is equal to 42 by 50. In such a case, what is the problem we are going to come here? I'll say where we have to store in C drive dad folder, because in dad folder I'm having this in C drive I'm having the file program software ex.java, right? ex.java. Then open the command prompt, then cd slash cd dad. So now please be careful. Dad javs java c ex.java. So I compile the code by using Java C. So I put the problem is with having what I could create this class as capital. So class, sorry. So I compile the code. Again, I will make it a clear screen. I'm going to compile the code JAVAC. I'm going to run the code JAVA. Program is EX. See here. Exception thread main java dot lang dot arithmetic exception divided by 0. Okay, this is the exception we got here. If you won't handle this exception, this is the error we are going to get. Even program is compiled, program is going to run in this. While running this one, you can see this one, what type of problem we are going to, it will display the whatever problem a program has. Now we have to handle this exception. There is a way this has to be taken by your programmer. The programmer has to handle this exception so that program can be executed in a proper way. How this can be done with the help of your unchecked exception. So that's called what uncaught exception. So if you don't specify, if you don't use any try or catch block, then who will detect this one and who will handle this one? So nothing but Java runtime system detects this. This is some problem divided by 0. Okay, this itself consider the now this program is going to consider the exception object, and it can be thrown and it can be called by the default address nothing but Java runtime system. Simply say this: if there is exception in this given program, the Java runtime system is going to handle this exception default. Okay, that was here. I will specify here. So here, why the programmer has to handle the exception? There are two things to be done. Okay, it allows you to fix the error. First one, in order to make the program terminating automatically, or to prevent the program from automatically terminating. These are the two reasons why we have to handle those exceptions, right? So I told you that at the beginning, to handle the exception in Java, we have how many are there? We have 5 keywords are there: try block, catch block, throw statement finally. So now we'll discuss one by one. So I'll make it to understand clearly. It is not a big problem. So try block contains what? Try block. This try block contains what? Try block contains statements which arise an exception. If we think that if I use so and so statement, the exception will arises, that particular statement must be placed in the try block. This is enough. So this is the syntax of this try block. Try followed by the opening parenthesis, and you can place the statements that may cause an exception and close this try block. Next we have catch block. So here, why to use the catch block? Catch block is used to handle the exception that will arise in the try block. Or catch block is where you can handle the exception. Okay, and this block must be followed by the try block. So we can simply say this: if an exception arises in the try block, the corresponding catch block that handles the particular exception and then executes. If you want to say in a simple way, the catch block is used to handle the exception that arises in the try block. That arises in the try block. That is the reason why using a catch block. Okay. So the here the catch block is used to handle the exception, and this block must be follow the try block. This is the so catch block. In the catch we have what exception type and exception object. So we have different types of exceptions are there. We have seen the checked or unchecked exception. As we're dealing with what runtime exception, I think what is our unchecked exception. So here exception types, we have different types of exceptions. Okay, now we know that we have different types of exceptions. This can be handled by this by your catch block. Okay, all exceptions are not of same type. There are different types of exceptions will be there. This different type of exceptions will be handled by the your catch block and block of code to handle the exception. Try block must followed by the either the catch block or finally block. Okay, it means we cannot use try block alone, right? This simple note you have to consider here. Now, what is the finally block? So here, so the finally block is one. So it will be executed whether or exception arise or not. So the finally block is always executed whether exception is handled or not. So here the finally block follows the try or catch block. Okay, nothing but the finally block should be placed at the end of the catch block. Try block, and then we have catch block, and we have what your finally block. So if there are exceptions, whether exceptions arise or not, the finally block is going to be executed. Okay, that's what you are which block finally block. And we have seen a small program here. So where the classic is what test. So I'm going to have this one where I'm declared one variable is what int type data. There I'm going to insert the value 25 by 0, and I'm going to print the value of data. And if I use this statement, and I'm going to get an exception, that will be what arithmetic exception, right? So now I'm going to execute this code. See here. So we have what test is a class name, public static void main is common. See here, why see here this one. If I place this int data is equal to 25 by 0, nothing but I'm going to get an exception. That's why I place in the which block try block. Okay, if I use this statement, what type of exception I'm going to get? Arithmetic exception I'm going to get. You say that exception is going to be caught. And finally block. The finally block is what? Always executed. Right? So then I'll limit this code as already test is available in my program. So I go for EX1. So save as EX1 dot. The program has been saved. Minimize it. Then you can execute this code. I'm saying CLS. Okay, JAVC Java C EX1 dot Java. So the program has compiled successfully. I'm going to run the code EX1. So what we got here? Exception caught, nothing but, and finally block is what? Always executed. If we have any doubt in this code, I'm also going to modify this one. Okay, so that makes you understand clearly. You can also modify this code. Int a is equal to ar this dot. So I'm trying to execute this code. See, same power. Exception part, finally block is always executed. And if you want to see this, what type of exceptions it has been available, it has got, then we can say that plus E, display the object. So we got what? Arithmetic exception. This arithmetic exception of what exception it is? We want to know that one. Then I change here. So here exception code, I use what object is. I'm displaying this object. Which one exception object? So we can come to know this what type of exception we got here, right? CLS. Again, I'm going to use Java, run the Java code. What we got here? Exception code. Because I use plus E, it can come to this Java dot line nothing but is a package. This is running what? Arithmetic exception. It is nothing but what? Divide by 0. So exception object can be used to specify the description of the exception, right? That's why we can use the exception object here E. That's why using what? Plus E, right? This is a simple code how to handle the exceptions. How to handle the exceptions in a proper way. So that's what we discussed, which block, try block, and catch block, and final block. I place all these things in a single program. Okay, I think that you might have understood this one. So what I'm doing here in this case, right? And I'll go to the one more statement. So with this, I'm not completed. I'll go to this one more thing. So better to listen the topics from the beginning to ending, so that it will make you to understand the things clearly. Don't skip anything. If you skip anything, nothing but you are losing something. So that is if you lose something, nothing but you can't understand the things clearly and perfectly. So I hope that you are going to listen to things carefully, right? So now we have discussed some of the topics is what you are in the use of exception handling. We discussed some of the topics earlier, and the few more topics is left here. So we have to go for multiple catch statement, nested try statement, throws, and user defined exceptions. So I'm going to complete these things within just 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Please listen to the class, each and every topic. That is very, very important. If you skip any of the things that you can't understand things clear. So what is a multiple catch statement? So multiple catch or multiple catch statement. Suppose here we know that we have more than one catch statement or we have more than one catch block. Why to use the more than one catch block? Because in a try block, we have more than, in a single try block, we have multiple exceptions. On a single try block, we have what different kinds of exception. To handle this different kinds of exception, we have to use the multiple catch block. Because every catch block can handle only one type of exception. Okay. Okay, this is what you are. There's a reason why it is what you are multiple catch block. Okay. In Java, once again. So we have single try block. This single try block, the single try block, we have more than one exception. To handle those exceptions, we have what multiple catch block. So because we have here, each catch block can handle only one exception or one type of exception. This is what multiple catch statement or multiple catch class. So this is the syntax of your multiple catch class or multiple catch statement. See, we have one try block and we have more than one catch block, because in a single try block we have more than one exception can be placed, and these exception can be handled by your catch block, because we have different types of uh, exceptions are there, and each catch block can handle different types of exception. Okay, so we have exception type, one exception object. Okay, statement to handle the exception. Here I have seen the small code. Here I have seen the small code. So that was already I told you in the beginning. The same code I'm having here. In this case here, see, we have this one. Public. Okay, the class name is what? Main one. Public static void main. In try block, I have been place your declare variable is a of what type int. I did what here is dot length, and I declare variable is what b. I divide the value 42 by a. We know that if I use args of length, you know that the value of a become what was 0 because we're not going to give any of the argument here, right? So now here I declare this c is an array variable where I have initialized only the value is 1 because nothing but and automatically the c of 0 become 1. But here we have been used here this one is what here c of what is equal what 92. The rest we declare is what c of 0. If we declare this one, then we are going to get a array index out of that, right? So I'll execute this code. If I use these statements, these three statements, then I'm going to get whatever arithmetic exception. If I use this statement, then I'm going to get array index out of box, right? So main one, the program is already there. I can make it as ex2. So I can go for ex2 dot ex2 dot then javac ex2 dot the program is compiled successfully. To compile the Java source code we got JAVAC. Then JAVA EX2. What we got here? A is equal to 0 divided by 0. We got what? Arithmetic exception. Right? Now we're going to supply one argument here. And then you can see this one. The compile the Java source code. I'm going to run your code and say what you are. So here I see this code here, CLS. So I run the code JAVAC ex2 dot ex2 sorry ex2 dot java. Then I go for this one ex2. We got what here? Divided by 0. I think this is what arithmetic exception. Now the same code, if you want to get this array index out of bound, and so this one, execute this code. Then we can see this one. What is happening here? Now x2. See the got what? Array index out of bound because the value of a is equal to 1. But we have specified is what? One is for 42. We got what? Your array index out of bound. Here, first you compile the Java source code, and then I run the code, and I'm passing the argument because I use what? ARGS. I can pass with the command and argument. If I use 1, then we are going to get this type of exception. This one. You have what? Your see here. Array index of the bound. because the size we have initialized the value is what 1, but you are given what is size what 42, nothing but it does not exist. Okay, then we are going to get what array index of the 4. This is the way how the multiple catch statements or multiple catch block is going to work. Okay, we'll go to the nested try statement. So we have a try block, try and catch block. Inside the try block, we have under try block. We can use a try block within the try block, or try block under another try block. This become what nested try statements. So this is the code I am giving. This is the syntax of this one. So we can see this clearly. See, we have this try block. In the try block, we are having another try block, by the catch block, and finally we are having the catch block. Exception type 2, exception object 2. This is for your try block 1. And exception type 1 is for your try block. Try block 1 is nothing but instead of having try, I showed the, some statements. I given some aroma. So the try block contains another try block, one is nested try block. So 1 indicates the inner try block, 2 indicates the outer try block. So here inner try block is a child, and outer try block is what your parent. Okay. And for that, I have this small code where I've been specified this one here. Okay, arithmetic exception. I have this try block, and I have this in this I specify small code. Okay, I'll explain this code and make it completely execute successfully. Because the program is already this program's already been discussed the time of class, but this is the revision part. That's why I'm moving. I don't want to move, but I can make it to explain it clearly. Right? Our class name is what main one, but I'll change this as what ex3 because the program is already available. Public static void main. I use what your a is of variable. Is args dot anything, but I'm using arguments. So if I don't use anything, the value will become what 0. If you make this values, sorry. So this is already this. Class name is what nest. Public static void main. I declared what I declared right. So I declared what here int a of array. And so how many values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we know that index start from 0 to n minus 1. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm trying to access the value which is not available in a of 5. Then we are going to get what your array index out of bound exception. Right? Array index out of bound exception. Okay. Now this is the thing we are going to get. Now using what here index x t int x is equal to a of 2 by 0. Nothing but here what I'm specifying here, I'm specifying that what a of 2 0 1 2 3 by e of 2 equal to nothing but become value of 3 by 0. We are going to which exception? Arithmetic exception. Right? So this is the program. So we have what your try block. So this is the inner try block, and this one is the outer try block. Right? So I'll say this code nest one. It's not a the program is very simple, and the only one thing is you have to analyze the code, you have to understand the code. That is very important. Nest one dot Java. It's not a big code, but what we have. System dot out dot interval. Okay. As I copy this one, we'll get some problem. This is the problem where we got. So I have what system dot out dot interval are index of the one. System type E is not on. Again as E1, so we have to do. So I compile the code now. If you want to make it clear, CLS. Tiny. Java C nest one dot Java. JAVA Java. NEST nest one. We got here array index outer bound exception. This is Java dot because we're having what accessing trying to access by element or such index does not exist. We are trying to access the element which is not available in the index 5. So we got what? This one, array index outer bound. Okay. And if I try to say this code, I can place 6 now. Now this is the statement is right now, and I'm going to get whatever exception I'll show you. Now we'll get whatever the same code I'm writing. We got here division by 0 is not possible, right? The thing, but this is the way how we can get the different types of exception, right? That's this one. So only my dear students, the program is very simple. Simple. Make it clear that you have to read it properly the right way, right? So that's what you are. Then we go to this throw statement, and we have a lot of what there because throw statement and then throws, and we have this one different exception. Then I'll complete this code. The throw is a keyword in Java. It is used to explicitly throw an exception from a method. If you want to throw an exception from a method explicitly, then use what? Throw keyword. The throw keyword can throw unchecked exceptions. That is runtime exception. The throw keyword can also be used to throw user-defined exceptions or custom exceptions. The syntax will hang what? Throw, throwable instance, right? So this is the simple example I have been given here. So which is going to throw an exception. Well, the code is already executed earlier. Then I'll tell you that we have our class name is what? Throw1. And come to one public static void main. In this try block, I use what your fun. Fun is nothing but the name of the method. Fun is what? Name of the method. In a try block, I call the function. The function name is what? Fun. See, we have what is what here. I'm going to throw in the exception once again, right? So here, in this case, so throw1 is nothing but the class name. So in the public static void main, I call the function. Its name is what? fun. That's why I have two parentheses. This function is different in the class where it's the class throw1. So static void fun. The try block, I use this one throw keyword. We have what throw. I'm throwing what exception. Throwable instance nothing but using a new keyword. Throw is a statement. I use the new keyword to throw the which one throwable instance. Inside is what its name is what null pointer exception demo, and this can be handled by your catch block the null pointer exception, and we are going to get output as what caught in function plus e. And again I am throwing the exception. Throw E. Nothing but throwing the exception. This can be handled by the which one your catch block, which is present in the public static void main, right? Then I'll execute this code. Then you can understand these things clearly. The class. So what throw to is a class. The license code save as CLS JVA Java THROW throw2 dot Java. Sorry, JVA is Java C THROW. What mod So program is executed. JVA right, throw2. So we got what exception important function, null point exception. Again, I throw this one, which one is what the exception for. So the exception for the statement which is available in case of what your public static void variable, and so this here record. Can we make it understand here? Yeah, see. Compile the code, run the code. See here. So here we got what null point exception has been thrown by using which keyword, throw keyword. And I got record exception. This is nothing but this is exception block is on the catch block, the public static void main method. Right. That's what you got your this one. Then throws keyword. So here the throws keyword is used to declare an exception. We can declare multiple exceptions in a single statement. So where we can use here, it is used to declare that the method may throw one or more exception, then the caller must catch the exception. We can think that if a method can throw one or more exception, then in such case use what throws keyword. Okay. So here we can throw the checked or unchecked exceptions also. Example I'm seeing here. Type nothing but begin to float or double or void. Method name parameter list throws as in what exception list. Example, if I use add method, then it is going to throw the two exceptions, which is what IO exceptions are arithmetic exceptions. This is a simple example, right? Then I'll have the one program, small code. Okay, there we can understand this one. See here. So class name is what test2. In that I have one method, its same is what check. If I use this method, it may throw one exception, that is what arithmetic exception. That's why using this keyword throws statement or throws keyword. Static void check throws arithmetic exception. Okay. And here I using what you are in the public static void main. I going to call the function. Inside I pass the values what 13. But our condition what? If age is less than 18, so invalid exception, or nothing but we can say that is a less than age or not valid, right? So if I use this one other than, we can also read through the exception by using this throw new exception. We can get this less than 8. Okay, and this is a simple example, and you can already execute this code. I can make it to understand clearly, right? And using what? Difference between throw and throws. Throw is a keyword. It is used to explicitly throw an exception. The throws keyword is used to declare an exception. See here, this is the where is that the main method. I use throw statement for the new operator, arithmetic throwable instance. But here, in case of this declaration method itself, I throws what your arithmetic exception. Checked exception cannot be propagated using the throw. Checked exception cannot be propagated using throw only. Checked exception can be propagated using throws. Throws is followed by the instance. Throw is followed by the class. And throw is used within the method. Throws is used with the method signature. We cannot throw multiple exception. We can declare multiple exception. By using throws, we can throw your checked and unchecked exceptions also. That's what throw and throws. When it comes to throw, we can throw only single exception. When it comes to throws, we can throw more than one exception. When it comes to throw, we can throw only the unchecked exception. By using throws, we can throw unchecked as well as what? Checked exception. That depends upon our programming, right? And here I'm going to wind up your exceptions because it has become too long.